Steve Jobs said, "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." So when you think about it, there are millions of artists all over the world. Our mediums of choice are as diverse as our personalities. And with the advent of the internet, we have been able to connect with each other, collaborate, and appreciate our fellow artists in ways that we simply were not able to in the past. However, as connections have gotten easier, right, the demands of a normal life are as persistent as ever before. That's something that hasn't changed. So even though there are millions of artists, there are only ever a small fraction that choose to walk the path of their artistry, to actually do it, right? To actually try to do their art full time. So as Steve Jobs said, have the courage to walk the hard path. Because when you choose to make your art your income, right? Meaning your job, meaning with your whole being, you are committed at this point. You need to understand that there is a definite reason as to why there are not more of us. And the reason for that is because the path of the artist is an uncertain one. It's uncertain because of the adversity that awaits you. Now, be ready, because when you announce your decision to become an artist, to pursue that craft full time, be ready for the laughs, the doubts, the judgments, the inability to live a normal life. But you are an artist, right? Normal is not in your vocabulary. So then, you've decided, right? You've decided to be true to you because you have the courage, as Steve Jobs would say, and to start pursuing your art. So you might ask yourself, what is the blueprint for a successful venture? Right? Everyone wants to know, well, how does an artist make money? And not only make money, but make enough money so that they can pay for their living expenses, right? So they can continue to perpetuate creation. Now, this is the most common problem, okay? It's the most common problem, and that is enough to conquer most artists. Most people say, yeah, I'd like to draw, I'd like to paint, I'd like to make pottery, let's say, whatever it is. But they understand that it's an uphill battle. They understand that they're barely making it as is with a normal job working for someone else. And this is enough for them to throw up their hands and say, oh, well, it can't be done. But don't let this stop you. Don't let that doubt stop you. Remember when Vincent van Gogh was in the midst of his pursuit to become a preacher? He obsessed over gospel principles so much to the point where he gave all of his belongings away because he wanted to live like the coal miners that he was trying to help. He wanted to be like them to the utmost degree. Even though this is somewhat of a pessimistic story, it is what led Vincent to eventually pursue his painting. And the rest, as they say, is, of course, history. Now, I'm not saying that this will be your fate, but rather what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to remind you that sacrifice is sometimes necessary to achieve what you want. The saying goes, the struggle is real. You might have heard people say this. Of course it's real. So the trick then is learning to laugh in the face of adversity when it visits you and learn to enjoy the struggle. To answer the previous question, what is the blueprint for a successful venture? Well, if I'm being completely honest, there isn't one. Okay? You are the blueprint for your own success. And just like artists as individuals are diverse, so too are the avenues that one can take to achieve success. Okay? Everyone uses different methods and techniques to achieve the same goal. So building an art-centric business, okay, is much like when you have different artists drawing from the same reference in a class. The goal is the same, right? The goal is to create a finished drawing that looks somewhat similar to the reference, but the approach is as individual as the artists themselves, okay? It's the same principle when building a company around your art. So, as an artist, I understand that my tools give me greater abilities than a simple pencil and my finger do. Of all the tools that I use when I draw and make my videos, right, my most precious tool isn't in my toolbox. It's my brain, in my head. Your mind is your greatest asset when it comes to your art journey. So let me start there. Any successful artist will tell you that you need to develop what is called an all-consuming focus. Steve Jobs said that everything else is secondary, right? That's what he said. So think of this as an obsession, but not in a negative context. A lot of times when people hear the word obsessed or to have an obsession, it has a negative context. But obsession is not negative if it's wielded appropriately, okay, if it's balanced. Because obsessing, if wielded correctly, results in the domination of one's thoughts and feelings by a persistent idea, image, or desire. So when you start to obsess over your art and your goals with your art, other aspects of your life will start to fade into the background, okay? They will start to become peripheral in nature and viewed as a lower priority or even a distraction from that which truly matters, which is your art. What you'll find when you start to look into this kind of mindset, that's what it is it is a mindset, is that it is common, okay, in those who seek to rise to the top of their profession, regardless of what it is. This is most visible in professional athletes, okay? So take Ichiro Suzuki, for example. For those of you who don't know, he is a Japanese baseball player who became one of the best to ever play the game. In fact, he holds a single season record for hits and most total hits than any other player if we include his years playing in the Japanese League and the American League, the United States. Okay, so you might ask yourself then, well, how did he do it? What was his blueprint for success? And when we analyze him, what we discover is that Ichiro methodically followed a daily routine in stretching, hitting, fielding. He did it every day, every week, every month, without exception. He continued this same routine for 28 years. A journalist who profiled him once said that Ichiro has methodically stripped away everything from his life except baseball. So then if we take this example from Ichiro Suzuki and we break it down, what do we find? We find that he indeed adopted this all-consuming focus, right? He structured his life in such a way that it became what I like to call baseball-centric, right? He literally lived, breathed, ate, and probably dreamed baseball, which in turn helped Ichiro focus only on what mattered to him, which was to become the greatest baseball player that he could be. Now, some might say that, this type of mindset is borderline obsessive, or that's what obsession actually is. But remember that old Russian proverb, if you chase two rabbits, you won't catch either one, right? So then to be focused on that one thing is to give yourself an advantage over your competition. This is one of the reasons why they say follow your passion, right? Follow what you're passionate about, do what you're passionate about, because the cards of economics are already stacked against you as an artist. And when you are passionate about your art, whatever the medium is, you already have this willingness, right, to push through discomfort that comes with doing something difficult, like building an art-centric company. And this mindset is closer to the historical meaning of the word passion, which is evident in other countries as well. Like in German, for example, the word for passion is pronounced Leidenschaft, which literally means the ability to endure adversity. It also translates as passionate suffering. So, if you're passionate about something, in Germanic cultures, that doesn't necessarily mean that you enjoy it. Leidenschaft is about knowing that the pursuit will be unpleasant, but you tolerate it because you know that the outcome is worth the cost. All right. Obsessive behavior is not limited to one specific group. Not at all. Anyone can develop a focused mindset. And as an artist, you are already familiar with time management, right? Because you need to set aside blocks of time for your craft, whether you're drawing, painting, whatever it is. And you are already familiar with product design and manufacturing, right? Because your art is the marketable product. So what you may be less familiar with then is this all-consuming focus that it takes to continue to create and push ahead in finding the solutions to the problems that keep you a hobbyist instead of an artist. Remember, you will always get out of life what you put into it. If you enjoyed this cast, give it a like. It helps me out with the algorithm. And if you know someone who would benefit from this talk, definitely share it with them. If you have ideas on future topics for future casts, comment. I would love to hear your ideas. Stay happy, stay healthy, and remember, never stop drawing.